is Johny Srouji, and why haven't we heard of him?
Well, he just joined Tim Cook's management team earlier this year, but he has been at Apple since 2008 and is basically running the the semiconductor division inside Apple. Now, what does that mean? This is a company that likes to make everything, right? From the software and the hardware all the way down to the processor. It's what allows Apple to make differentiated products. They would say better products. They've kind of kept him secret, but we talked to him.
And he's been on the up and up. He was recently promoted. Adam, talk to us about his trajectory.
Yeah, he's an Israeli-born engineer, and he spent much of his career in Israel working for IBM and Intel. And then he joined Apple in 2008 at a time right after the first iPhone had come out. And after the first iPhone came out, while it was a revolutionary device, it was limited. And Steve Jobs made the determination that Apple needed to design its own silicon, which is really the processor, the brains that makes a machine go. And so by doing that, they thought that they could have new features that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Now, why is this, what he's working on, so important? Because historically, Apple hasn't made its own chips, but now, and increasingly, they are, which is an interesting development, right?
Well, I mean, they in their PCs and their Macs, they used to, with IBM, make a PowerPC, and then they switched over to Intel. They've been doing more silicon, really since the iPhone 3G, more and more. I mean, look, they have to convince the world to pay more for an iPhone and an iPad, that there's something special about Apple. They make that argument with the design, they make that argument with the software and the cloud services. Some people criticize those elements of the Apple ecosystem, and really they are trying to play up silicon. It has all these ramifications. For instance, the security debate, the encryption debate that we're having this week, and why the FBI finds it so difficult to tap into Apple products. That also starts with the silicon. They're enabled to design key security features into the chip.
So flesh that out for me a little bit more.
Well, without getting into technical details,
right.
They put what's called a security enclave onto the chip. Very, very tight encryption. It makes it very difficult for law enforcement to come in and hack it. And so the FBI has come and had to ask Apple to basically customize a little window, a kind of skeleton key into Apple's products, and that's what Tim Cook is objecting to.
And that all comes down to the chip.
Partially. I mean, it's what we were talking about in terms of the blending of the hardware and the software. There's elements of the chip which are central to it and make the phone go. It's also the incorporation of the software and the algorithm. So take an iMessage or something. So if I'm sending a message, when I hit go, it sort of scrambles as it's going out of the phone. And then when it gets to you, it decodes it, and so you can see it. And it's what's happening in the middle there that law enforcement wants to step between and be able to see.
So Apple doesn't usually provide this kind of access. Why now? Why with this guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we thought about when going into the story. I mean, this is clearly something strategic. The company's stock has been battered. There's questions about whether the smartphone market is becoming saturated. And so Apple is trying to reinforce what makes their company unique and what they're doing that differentiates them from others on the market.
Although we should say we asked them to talk to Johny.
Right.
We pitched the story.
We asked Apple for a lot of things.
That's right. And I think Adam's right. Maybe the time was right for them, as Johny tells us in the story. It's simply too good of a story for them not to start telling.
And the timing really interesting, I mean, just in the last 24 hours, given the developments and Tim Cook taking a stand against the FBI.
And the skepticism around Apple and the challenges of Apple stock over the past few months, and them having to continually reiterate why their products are different, in their minds, why their products are better.